Okay, this video is going to cover why software like Hotjar and Crazy Egg, which are basically click tracking, but more importantly, video screen recording software that help you identify how people are interacting with your website, are not the panacea that you're basically looking for to see if your website's up to snuff or if it can be improved at all. For you guys that are trying to improve your website and looking into a software like this, it doesn't hurt anything, certainly, but you're not getting anywhere close to the level of insight that you can actually get in person, which is what I'm going to specifically talk about in this video. If we were to rank how much improvement that you can get out of your website by using Hotjar to video record how people are interacting with your site on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to say with Hotjar you're going to get about a 1 to 2, whereas using some of these other methods I'm going to tell you here that I'm going to use on my site and I tell our clients to use all the time on their end, and whether they listen to it or not, it's another thing, but you can get upwards of a 9 out of 10 there just by switching up your methods. And of course, not having to buy software is saving you money, but of course getting participants to help you identify and help you test your site in person using real human subjects is obviously you might have to have some bribe money in order to get that done, and so you get subjective results also with it. But anyway, if you're trying to improve your site though, using the software is not really hurting anything. The bigger thing is what I see people do wrong all the time is they're looking to upgrade their sites and totally redesign their site, and they do that with no consideration of they may be looking into one of these softwares to see how people interact with it, but they're not doing this other testing that I mentioned that's basically critical to have a healthy, successful business that doesn't go sideways or down on you, if you will, once you make a big change like that on your site. So, granted, most of you guys that are watching this that are looking into a Hotjar or other similar video screen recording software, you're looking to improve your current site. This stuff is all relevant as to when you eventually are going to improve or upgrade your website, and even more so important for that. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to explain how you can improve your site without this software, or at least whereas the software can improve your site maybe a little bit, you can improve it way, way more just by using this other alternative method that these software companies seem or try to lead you on to think that they're actually really good for improving your site, and really they're not that good at all in comparison, at least to these other alternative methods you have to improve your site. So anyway, with that said, and now I'm a fan of using Hotjar itself to video screen record your screen. And just for the record, Crazy Egg, I don't know if they've upgraded their software recently, but for the most part, Crazy Egg was just click tracking, where they would show you where people clicked on your screen and how far they scroll, whereas Hotjar technically has that, but it also has actual video recording of your screen, which is what you actually want. Of course, seeing where people are clicking on your screen, that's sort of nice, but it's really hard to have actionable information from that. It looks nice, it seems like it's interesting to look at, but you look at the click track, what they call the heat map of where people clicked on your screen, on your web page, and you look at it and you can't really tell what to do with that in reality, which is what the software get you on the fact that it looks interesting and get all that information, but they don't make you or clue you into the fact that you can't really do shit with it. Whereas Hotjar got popular real quick because they had the video record function of that, and it was really cool and it still certainly is cool because it still does this. You can actually video screen record, and it would log over time how people are interacting with your site. So technically, you could go back and you could check, backwards, going backwards, and if you upgraded your site or updated your site a lot, you could go back and look at certain stages of how people are interacting with the site and so forth. But anyway, with the actual video screen recording itself, you actually can tell a reasonable amount of what to do, given that somebody typically, when they're going to get on your site and they're scrolling up and down, that's generally an indication that people aren't finding what they want. What you typically want is somebody to look at the screen, and if you're talking about a local service, a lot of people think, oh, they didn't get to the bottom part of the screen, or bottom part of the site, so the site didn't work. No. For a local service or a simple service, plumbing or something like that, you basically want most of the people to get to the page and not even have to scroll before they got what they want and they can call. For something that's more technical, your main goal is getting that person so they scroll down the screen and they get all the way, for the most part, to the bottom of the screen, and they didn't go back and up and down, which, those reports like with Crazy Egg that shows you how far they get down the screen, that's, not really relevant, as is actually recording the screen with something like Hotjar and go all the way and watch, are they going down in one clear linear path? Because basically with the website, the main thing is, again, if you have something that's more complicated to explain, you have your content broken out into sections. Top part gives you an overview, and then you get into how it works, and then you get into other applications for the product, and then you get into testimonials, and it's broken down into sections, and it should be done in a logical order, in that whatever order you think that consumers would want to have that information is the order it should go in. Usually people want to know how it works first. That's why that's the first section. And that section's totally broken out from the top section, which goes on an overview of what the page is about. And then usually once they know how it works, they want to know, will it work for them? And then you go into the applications and so forth. And then if you laid it out right and you did it in the right order, and each section has good copywriting, so it explains well what you have, they should go down the page. Once they get to the bottom of the page, they pretty much know what the product is about. At that point in time, they might scroll up, and then within each one of those sections, you generally want links out to other pages that go into detail on that one thing. So on the how it works section, it goes like, 1, 2, 3, this is how it works. And then to see more about how it works, click here. So for the people who want more information than that, they know instantly how they can get it, but you don't bog the other people down with it, because most people don't need all that extra information. If you bog people down with too much information, your conversion rate goes down. And so anyway, as people are scrolling down the page, they know already that if they want more information on any one part, they can get it. But generally speaking, they start at the top of the page, they scroll down, and they get the general gist of the overall. And then at that point, they may go up to an individual section and then go further into the page. But they're not going to go click and go further into the site, in other words, on how it works in detail, like down to the technical level on things, before they get the rest of the information, so they can see if they even want to invest their time in seeing how it really, really works. They want to see kind of how it works and kind of what it's for or who it's for. Then they kind of want to see, is there good testimonials? And then they kind of want to see where you're located, that kind of thing. And so that's the general formula for explaining something that's not extremely simple, like a plumbing service, which you don't give a shit about any of that stuff. All you care about is, can they cover my area? Do they offer what I came for? And can I trust them? And you can get all that done usually without even having to scroll on the page. And anyway, that's your goal. That's how we set up all our landing pages. And you can find good examples of that on our landing page portfolio at guaranteedppc.com on how to lay that out for like a local service or for a more technical service. The way that I was talking about, or technical product, how to lay out each individual section like I was talking about, you can go find information there about that. But anyway, this isn't about landing page design and conversion rate optimization so much as it is for, to talk about what you should do as a person who probably doesn't want to get into the weeds of how to make a page convert better. You just want to know if the page converts well or not, or as up to a standard that the paid traffic that you're trying to drive to it will be profitable, and you can scale to a large company based upon you having that good base website that conveys what you need to convey to the market, and so you can have you can communicate clearly enough that that's not going to be a hindrance in your future growth. So anyway, back to as far as the video recording, you can kind of see a little bit based upon what I mentioned that users want to do. You want users to do, depending if you have a complicated or simple thing that you're trying to pitch, from that video recording to see if you got it or not. Hotjar, I'll use it for that sometimes, but the main thing I like to use Hotjar for is multi-step forms. So we'll have clients at our PPC agency who have let's say they have a car rental business, and then there's a process to rent the car, right? And you ask all these questions on a form. We want to know where they're getting stuck on that form. Is there a part on the form where we see that they don't know how to enter in a certain field? And for the video recording, it's absolutely perfect for this. You can see which fields they're getting stuck on. And if they get stuck on a certain field or a certain question, you can put, for instance, a little question mark next to the field and a speech bubble that guides them how to fill it in. Or maybe we just need to make that particular field optional because the cost of making it required, even though we really want that information, is so high, it cuts into the overall success rate of how many people we get to fill out the whole form so much that we'll do without it. And that's exactly what Hotjar, more than anything, really should be used for, because it's perfect for that. Anyway, we work with a lot of clients here. I see people bring up Hotjar and that kind of thing all the time, even though they're not really know how to use it that well. What I don't see clients doing, which I wanted to make a video specifically about this, was people sitting down and actually watching what users are doing on their site right there with the person in hand or hand in hand with the person. So what that means is you literally have somebody sit down in a desk. You tell them to go to your website, and you sit there with a clipboard and you write down what you observe. You physically watch how they're interacting with your site, where they get stuck on. But the missing piece here that you can do with this that you can't do with the software is get their facial reactions, and they're like, are they breathing? Like, are they giving a sigh? Or there's certain things you can't just pick up through the software. Of course, it would be nice if the software would show us, screen record the person's face, but we can't get that. There's so much that in terms of what we can pick up in terms of body language about how that person feels about the site, and are they getting frustrated or are they not, that tells us whether our design's up to code or not, or up to spec or not. And it's so important that compared to just knowing where they're scrolling on the page, it doesn't even compare. When you make any kind of significant change on your site, and you for sure don't have much, if at all, training in designing a website for conversions. So basically, if you're not a web designer by trade, and even then, many people make websites, they don't know jack shit about making a website that converts, which a lot of people fall for that trap, and then they end up with a website they thought was better, and they paid money for it, and it actually hurts their conversion rate, and then they don't even admit that to themselves until they've ran that site for 3 to 6 months, and their whole company about goes under, and then they roll back to the original site. If you don't know and have a lot of experience making websites and testing, you need to make up for that fact. There's nothing wrong with that, and you don't have to learn it as long as you practice these key tenets here to know if your design that you or whoever you paid to give you that design knows what the hell they're doing or not. A good person who understands UX design, user experience design, every single time basically is going to know how to make a website that's better than yours and which converts better. Nothing else matters when you make a new website other than, can you get that site to convert better than the other site that you had? And ultimately, someone who knows what they're doing will know how to do that every time. Someone who doesn't know what they're doing, it's a toss-up. Maybe it's going to convert better, maybe it's not. And for you, it's really hard for somebody who's not a conversion rate or conversion or web experience designer to know whether that person you're hiring as a person who could redesign your site actually knows anything about it. And just hiring, by the way, a web design firm instead of an individual person still doesn't matter. Really good design firms who really know what they're doing, and basically you can guarantee they're going to get results. For an e-commerce site, they're charging like $250,000 for a design and programming of the site. And I know that you might already be falling out of your chair saying, well, that's ridiculous. The people who really know how to make designs so they can get results basically every time like that, they're asking $200,000 a year in a salary for a decent graphic designer like that, of course. And then it's going to obviously take a lot of hours to do a full e-commerce site. That might be 200 hours of design time on a full e-commerce site. Then that, rate is marked up by triple. Now you know how it's going to get into 6 figures for a design that you know for sure is going to work. And then, there's people that offer you an e-commerce site for $500. And so you can go and take the easy route and just pay the 250 grand and get a fucking amazing website without worrying about it or thinking, 2 seconds about it. The cheaper you go, obviously there's caveats to this, but for the most part, as a whole, the cheaper you go, the more likely it is the person you hire or firm you hire don't know jack shit about making websites, and something called user psychology and conversion psychology, as I call it, to understand it's literally an art form to make a website convert better, because there's no textbook that explains this. You get this from raw experience and using white space and understanding how to combine images with text and make sure it has the right balance and the right flow. You just can't pick this up very easily. And the people who do get it, they charge a shitload of money. And they're really, really hard to hire, because anybody who knows how to do this literally fucking prints money for the companies that they're designing for. So usually if you're going to get that person, you got to hire them through that expensive firm that charges the $250K for the website. So anyway, and obviously I understand most of you guys aren't going to be able to afford a $250,000 site until you're a $50 million a year company already. So, or whatever, or 10 million plus. So you kind of compensate. You got to be able to find what you can afford, but at the same time, it's still going to be a risk. You want to be able to pay the company $25K to get you that new site set up, but even then, you're going to have to not stick your head in the sand. And when the site's done, you're going to have to verify that site actually got you what you paid them to do or why you paid the company to make you a site in the first place, which was to get you more revenue from the traffic that you already had coming into the site. And a lot of people fall into this trap of paying a company, automatically thinking that site's going to convert better just because it looked like the firm. They've looked at the firm that they were going to hire and told themselves a story that because they have these reviews, they know what they're doing, and that's not. You can't assume whatever you see on that site or whatever you've heard about that company, unless they're really fucking expensive, they even know what they're doing. And even then, sometimes it can be deceiving who you hire. You got to be able to test that site, so you're not the person who puts the wrong version of your site up that's worse, and then that drops your sales, and then you got to start laying people off just because you didn't make the decision to test what you had. So you swallow your pride, and potentially admit that the $25K that you paid this company to make you this site, you paid it and it was completely fucking a complete waste of money, and you have to do it all over again. But it's better than launching it and losing $250K because you wouldn't admit to yourself that you got ripped off until you basically went under and you had no choice but to admit it to yourself. I know this sounds really arrogant for me saying this, but I've literally seen multiple companies doing this, where I'll tell them, look, don't launch this site. This site is going to screw up your conversion rate. I can tell because I do this for a living. Don't launch this, or at least test it on a small scale basis first. And they go ahead and launch it, and 2 or 3 months later, their sales go from $200K a month to, $50K a month, and they lost, $500,000 almost before they switch it back, because they didn't want to admit to themselves that the money, and money, not even the money, but the time and the money that they put in with that company to build this site that was a piece of dog shit that didn't work, ended up they got scammed and they wasted all their time with that company. So they lost money and they lost their time, and your pride's on the line, obviously. So, like I said, but you don't have to be an expert to know if it works or not. You can easily test the site. I mean, some people just put the new site up, test it, and there's ways so that you can have your new design test where only 10% of your traffic goes to the new version of the site. So you technically have 2 sites going at the same time. There's tools like Visual Website Optimizer where you can do that kind of thing. It's going to be more technical to certainly do that. But even if you don't want to do all that technical crap, there's a much more easy way to figure this out, which is you get somebody at your office that, doesn't work at the company, or even if they do work at the company, that, some average, like your bookkeeper or whatever, sit them in front of you that website that you think you're going to go live with and ask them to, basically complete a set task. For an e-commerce site, I'm just going to literally ask them, go and buy this item on the site. Find it, go buy it. And then just sit there and watch what happens. How long does it actually take them to go buy the item? Is it longer or shorter than you think that it take? The longer that it takes for them to figure out how to buy that item, the less money that you're going to make per visit to that site. On top of that, and this is certainly where you need somebody that's not an employee, a friend, or whatever, some guy off the street, doesn't matter. You can you can have the person who's not in your company sit them down in front of your site and quiz them about your company and what they were supposed to be able to pick up from that website after spending 1 to 2 minutes on your site. So that in order to get somebody to buy, because if they contacted you first, and in the sales process that you have the most frequently asked questions, and the salespeople specifically know what are the things that most people need to know in order to feel confident to make a purchase. And then you obviously try to take those things and put it onto your site so that more people will buy. So, and through the process of doing that, if you sit some newbie or new guy who never, doesn't know much about your company yet on the site, and you tell them to spend a couple minutes on the site, studying it and assume checking it over and assume that you're going to be buying from us, and then you stop them after 2 minutes and you ask them, how long is our warranty period? And they go, warranty? And then you go, how fast is our shipping? Is it, what kind of shipping do we have? You can find out real quick if the design that you have conveys the information or not just the information, but the important information that they have to know to generally be confident to buy. Is it getting conveyed in a way that it needs to or not? Just having it on the homepage does not guarantee that they're going to pick that up. This is where the design, balance, and flow, and the eye flow, and all this shit comes into factor here that determines whether or not people are going to actually notice, first of all, and then also digest the information that's given to them. So you could have 5 key things that they need to know that most people are going to need to know to feel confident to buy. And if you get a new person, you get them on their site, you tell them spend a couple minutes on the site to study the product or the offer, and they don't get any of that information. At that point, you're just going to have to swallow your pride and go back and redesign it all again, because it's probably going to be garbage. And you got schooled, and you're not going to get schooled again with the next person you hire, hopefully. But you find out if they can get that key information. So there's 2 things there I mentioned. A, tell them to go buy something. If they can't buy it very easily, start all over again. If you're generating leads on the site, tell them to inquire on the site. Obviously calling, see how quickly they can find their phone number or your phone number, or with the contact form, see how quickly they can fill out the form. If they're stumbling around, obviously that's a red flag. Now, there's some other tests though that goes beyond. This is just the basics here. The more important thing here would also be to find some test subjects, again, people that don't work for your company, and put your site and get your 3 competitor sites that they're your equal direct competitors, or maybe directly above you or a little bit, and get the test subject and give them a specific objective. So if you sell, let's say you're a modeling service, like where you connect models, professional models, and people that need them for commercials and video shoots and stuff like that. And in that case, you're going to sit the person down and you're going to say, and this is, by the way, where the person that you have test your site, if your site's supposed to be your service is supposed to be for business owners, you're going to need business owners to test the site. Otherwise, you're going to get shitty results. So it might be tough. That's why you might have to offer them a little bit of money or whatever. It's money well spent, because if your site converts less, like I said, you're going to lose not just $1,000, but hundreds of thousands. You tell them that, okay, we're going to give you several sites here, and I want you to tell me which site that you would actually go on there and hire a model for a commercial that you were going to put together in your city in Oakland, assuming that you're in Oakland. And then you just, you let them go. They go through, they have to pick which one they would hire of the 4 sites. You see how they interact with your competitor sites, you see how they could interact with your site, and of course, you give them a very specific request like this, how to hire a model for a commercial that you're shooting in Oakland. One of the things that person's going to have to do is figure out, is the models I can hire from Oakland? Then you try to look and see if they can figure that out quickly, how to narrow the models that you have in your database there just to Oakland. Is it too hard? Obviously, if that is, and that's going to be the main thing that most people are going to need to know. If they can't find it like right away, you have to start over again with your design. Or maybe you get away with slightly modifying it. But for something as key as this, if your designers didn't get this done in your design, chances are there's other stuff wrong. But anyway, so you'll have them look at your site and your competitor's site. And the key thing here, going back to what I was saying before, is you're going to see when and where they're confused. You're going to look at their face while they're looking at the screen, and you'll tell when they're confused or frustrated and all that. So the process of trying to look at your site and they're frustrated a lot, you're probably going to have to start over again. It should not be confusing to get the gist of what you offer on your site. If you design your landing pages, your site, like a landing page, in essence, with the strategy you're using, these people are going to quickly be able to get a general gist of your company like I was explaining you want to do before. And then when they want more information about a specific thing, of the main things you need to know, they can easily find out more information about it if and when they want it. Otherwise, everything is kept very high level and explained to them like they're a 5th grader essentially. So that it's, in a minute they got the gist of what you offer, what you do, why it's different, and they can go and read into the details on anything that they want. And they know how to do that, but for the most part, they didn't need to spend minutes and minutes and minutes on your site to figure out what you're about, why you're about it. So in addition to asking people to just order or contact you and see how quickly they can do it, and are they frustrated at all when they do that, because if they do that, you immediately have to fix those 2 things. You're going to have the things that that they need to know that you're better than the competition, because ultimately, if the things that you need them to know in order to buy, if they can't figure that out after a couple minutes of studying your site, and I can go to your competitor's site and see that stuff, you're obviously going to lose sales to that competitor. It has to be as good as the competitor, obviously, if not better. Your goal is to make it better. So you ask them how to order or reply. You ask them, questions about, what, do we offer a warranty? Warranty? And then again, you find out if the things that they're supposed to know, which you can easily find out what they're supposed to know by asking your salespeople. And if you have an e-commerce site, you still have sales inquiries coming in. Ask the salespeople, what do these people need to know in order to buy typically? And then those are your questions you're asking these people that have spent a couple minutes on your site that you instruct. You can review our site for a couple minutes. I'll come back and just ask you a few things about, to make sure our site conveys the information. You can tell them, literally speaking, like what you're going to be doing. I'm going to be asking you, questions about our product, make sure our site conveys the information that it needs to convey. If you come back, even after telling them that you're going to be quizzed on the exact, make sure that the the website has the information that you need to know as a buyer, and they come back and they still can't tell you, and that was the main thing, and you, on top of it, told the web designer these are the main things that we need to convey, you're just going to have to redo it again. And then, of course, like I said, beyond that, let them compare your site versus the competitor sites and just see, is your site going to seem like it's the most compelling? And if you're not, you should redesign it anyway, even if it doesn't seem the most compelling by most people, because the amount of time and effort it's going to take to make your PPC campaigns better to promote a subpar website, your time and money is going to be better spent just making that website better than to try to mask or cover up a crappy website by trying to make the PPC campaigns better. The clients that we have, it's by far the easiest to win in that market is where they had the better site. Of course, the offer or the product, that's the most important technically, but if the products are fairly similar, whoever has the better site, I mean, the PPC can just be absolutely average. You have a fantastic site, it's going to work. You have a crappy website and fantastic PPC, it's never going to work. So comparatively speaking, you got it. You know, it makes no sense to not get a website that's at least as good as your top, the top direct competitors you have in your space that are making most of the money now. Yeah, and yes, it is expensive and hard to put that website together, but compared to what other work you're gonna have to do to compensate, it's not as much. So anyway, this doesn't have, that I've said mainly what I wanted to say about this. Hotjar, Crazy Egg, it's not going to give you near the information you truly need to know as to whether or not your website can be improved or not. Quizzing people on the information, by reviewing your site and asking them and telling them that you're going to be quizzing them and then asking them, did they get the information they need, is going to tell you what you need. And quizzing them to ask random people who they do business with after reviewing your site and the competitor site is going to tell you if your site needs to be improved or not. And at that point, you go to your web designer and you say, here's what we found, we need to make it better. You don't need to look at Hotjar and try to decipher why somebody stopped halfway down the page, because it's not clear concrete information. All you need to know is, did they get the information they needed or did they not? And does our website have more commercial appeal than our competition's? And once you know that, you know to go back to the drawing board and make your website better. And if you do that before you ever upgrade your website, you're going to save yourself a lot of money. Because once you upgrade your website, of course, that you're going to guarantee to lose sales for a period of time in which you obviously don't pin down that it was the website, so to say. Not to mention, generally speaking, when you upgrade a website, your SEO is going to go backwards. If you have anything like your website links are changing at all. And your PPC campaigns, like Google ad campaigns, when you switch websites, your PPC campaigns are going to go sideways for probably 2, 3, 4, 5 months is our typical thing that we're going to see with our clients. And why go through that when you could easily find out if your website was up to par just by running these little experiments with some regular people, that you find that are similar to the demographic of the people that you're going to be selling to, and just get what their opinion is about your site. So, respectively, it's the best information that you're going to have as to whether or not or how to improve your site. Of course, this information doesn't tell you exactly how to improve it. Like I said, that's not what this is about. You hire the right person who knows how to do this stuff, which they're rare. The person that knows how to make your site convert better is rare. And it's going to be hard to find them. But that's just what it takes, because it's very difficult to make a website actually perform better. And the person that can do that isn't going to be using Hotjar to figure out how to make your website better. They're going to look at your site, they're going to look at the competitions, they're going to understand how to make a better website because it's inherent kind of in their blood. You want to improve a form, that's a different story. Want to learn how to improve your website itself or to see if it's good enough or not, it's not going to tell you enough information whether or not that site can be improved predictably or not, unless it's like really, really bad. And then it might be kind of obvious, but even then you're still going to have to find that designer who can do it. So it's not, that's not going to give that designer any specific information on what to do. That designer's now going to try to have to make a better website. But even before you had the designer make a better website, you'd be better off running these tests to know for sure that your website needs to be improved before you go ahead and spend all that money and actually redesign it. So it's one thing. So one thing is you run these tests to make sure that you're way off the mark and need to improve your site. And then the second thing is you make sure you you figure out how to hire the right person, so you only have to do this once. And if you're going to go through the trouble of doing it, you do it once. And then even after that, you go ahead and you test your site again and make sure that person knew what they were doing. So anyway, that's pretty much everything I wanted to share about Hotjar, Crazy Egg, and software like that as to what its usefulness is to your business and getting more revenue per click to your site from your advertising or organic traffic or whatever all the other traffic sources that you're driving at your site, to get more value out of it and put yourself in position to be a market leader in your space. If you like the video, I have a ton of other videos on this channel about other money-making specifically PPC strategies, as we run a PPC agency here and we give you the stuff that works on our clients' campaigns, so you can use those same strategies for your own company as well. I also have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog, where I also write the PPC strategies that are working for our clients here at our firm, in which we use to guarantee our results. So if you like this video and the content on this channel, you can find great information there, where I break down kind of step by step how to build PPC campaigns that are, basically or fairly guaranteed to make money for you if you're to use them. If you like the video, you should consider giving it a thumbs up or a like. And if there's anything about this video you disagreed with or was confusing or wanted to ask questions about, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. As a final thing, I wanted to point out that we do run a PPC agency here. We have a brand new program where we're offering turnkey PPC campaigns, in that if we have results in one market for a plumbing company, and you wanted to open up a plumbing company in another geographic market that would not be in competition with the core market, instead of offering PPC services to you, you can use the exact PPC campaigns that we've built up over years to get the multi-million-dollar a year sales results for that client in your own market, and know with the use of the campaigns and the templates and the landing pages that we have for that other market, what the results would be before you ever used it. And so instead of having a monthly kind of fee working with a PPC agency, you can just work with the campaign templates that are already proven for that market. And so you could do that to start up a brand new business. You could use our campaign templates because we have results in dozens and dozens of markets now like this. You could use the templates for your campaign, in which we probably or maybe already work in your market already. And so instead of trying to figure out how to make more money with your website and web marketing, you could just use our campaign templates and skip all the learning process that's involved with learning how to make millions of dollars with PPC and scaling it up. Just use what we already have that works in that market. So there's only one way to tell if we have results in your market already, which would be to reach out to us. If we do, we'd tell you, of course, how much results you can expect up front using the campaigns that we've already know work and have built up in that market already. So anyway, you can reach out to our firm if you're interested in that. But beyond that, I'll wrap up the video with that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in my next video, where we have another great strategy posted for you there, or information about how to save money on this, avoiding the stuff that doesn't work with Google Ads, Facebook, and the like. See you there.